I'm so excited. It is under the scope. We're getting ready to get started soon. All right. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Today is Saturday, everyone. Welcome to Under the Scope. I am glad that it's Saturday. I look forward to Saturdays, every Saturdays, not because it's my show, but because I get to bring fabulous speakers from all over the world onto Under the Scope. So I'm your host, Kimberlon B. I'm a licensed professional counselor here in Phoenix, Arizona. Been in the field for almost 10 years, working with adults, children, anybody who has a potential that they want to reach. I love to meet people where they're at. And just a little bit about Under the Scope. It's a scope cast. So it's like in between a podcast and a Facebook Live because here on this platform, we get to see one another, we get to laugh together, cry together, all of that. And then we get to go take our speakers under the scope where they can ask questions and you can ask them questions as well. So I really like that. Under the scope is for inspirational, educational, and conversational purposes, and does not substitute you getting a higher level of care if you need care. And if you don't know who to reach out to, feel free to message me privately in the chat or find me on Facebook under Kimberlon B LPC. So I'm excited today. Before we move this train out of the station and turn it over to our awesome speaker, just a few rules. Um, what I like to do is for the everyone that's attending to utilize chat for comments, kudos, whatever you want to use it for, so we can give the speaker a chance to get to the very end. Unless the speaker wants you to participate, then feel free to take your phones or whatever off mute and participate. Also, you can use the raise hand feature if you know how to use it, and then I'll call on you in order. Um, but what I like to use that for is because once we get to the end, after the speaker just fills us up, then you have a chance to ask them questions again, and they're unscripted, unrehearsed, and you have that opportunity to take them under the scope. So, a little bit about our guest today, and that's Lataria Peterson. I am so glad she is here. One of the attendees, Demetria, um, actually recommended her, and I reached out to Lataria like last year when I started Under the Scope, and she said yes. And I am so grateful for our guests that we had since August because all of them said yes, because it's so important for them to share their knowledge, skills, talents, whatever they have, and the importance of mental health awareness. So I'm glad that she said yes. And it seemed like it was forever for her to come on the show. And then time just sped up. And guess what? She's here. I'm excited. I want to turn it over to her because today she's talking to us about being an unshakable woman. And let me tell you something, I was shook so much this week. So I know this message is for me and everybody else that's listening too. So without further ado, I turn it over to you, Lataria Peterson.
Hello, ladies. I hope you all are doing well on this beautiful Saturday. I am in Texas where it has been very wintry. It's been a whole bunch of madness that we are not used to. And the sun is out, we're recovering just from all the craziness that comes along with the cold weather that again, we're not used to. So I hope you all are doing well. Again, my name is Lataria Peterson. I am an author of two books, Sparkle and Promise Devotional. I am a life coach and I'm a speaker. Mother of three beautiful children. And again, I thank Kimberlon for bringing me on to just talk about being an unshakable woman and what that means to me. And first of all, I just want to say that an unshakable woman to me, it has nothing to do with myself. It has nothing to do with my own abilities. It has nothing to do with my own strength. I found my unshakable woman within my faith, and that's my belief in Jesus Christ. In him, I found my identity and who I was for a long time in my adolescence. I suffered from rejection. I suffered from insecurity and just not knowing who I was and just moving from relationship to relationship to try to find happiness, to try to fill voids from childhood pain. I didn't seek professional help, which I should have, because in the end, I end up seeking professional help. And I advise that to anyone who needs it. There's nothing wrong with it. But I just went through a lot of things, just a lot of different coping mechanisms to try to heal my own hurts and heal my own hearts, reaching out externally to try to do work that could only come from within. Um, Through that, I just, through my faith, I discovered who I am. I discovered my strength, and my strength is in him. It's through Christ that I found my purpose. It's through Christ that I'm able to go on every day. Being an unshakable woman, it's really about your faith. It's really about what you believe about yourself. Um, when you suffer from rejection, when you suffer from insecurity, it's easy to look outside of you and to hold a mirror up to yourself and measure yourself up to this woman or to that woman, or try to um, just try to find a sense of purpose or a sense of worth in material possessions, in obtaining degrees and obtaining certifications, in relationships, trying to get married and present yourself to look good for this certain man and get the attention of man, and trying to just find your worth in everything around you when it's already within you. It's your value system. It's what you believe about yourself. Not only do I realize that not only do we have the world that is telling us, oh, we should look like this, we should dress like this, we should be skinny like her, oh, you're not thick enough, your butt ain't big enough. Not only do we have all of that, but you have your own internal voice that can sometimes be negative. And sometimes it's not just your own internal voice, but it's things that you've heard from other people. I can still recall things from my childhood or adolescence, things that people have said that still ring within my head now. I know how to combat that now. I combat that with scripture. I combat that with what I believe about myself. But let's say, for instance, in the 7th grade, I had a girl, we were in the gym, volleyball tryouts. We were in the gym and she just looked at me. She stopped what she was doing. Now we're trying out now. We're trying out for a whole volleyball team. Why you want to be ugly? I don't know. But she looked at me and she said, "You're ugly."
Wow.
And this is in a room, a gym full of girls. I want to say it's about 30 to 50 girls. We're trying out. I was an adolescent. I was about 13. So you can only imagine what that did to me in that moment. And so growing up, I found myself accepting what people said about me and accepting their opinion of me, and not having my own sense of self-worth, my own sense of value, my own sense of just self-love. But in becoming an unshakable woman, I realized my worth. I realized my value. I realized that it's not in oh, I look like this, or I'm just this super gorgeous girl, because there's always going to be someone with more education, who's prettier, who has just more material things, who has that perfect life that you think is perfect. We have to realize that we all are going through something, that we all are suffering. And if we're not going through something, we're about to go through something, because life is about the trials and the ups and downs, and how we get through it, and how our character builds and how our character grows. And it can beat you up, but you have to stay grounded. And for me, it was being grounded in my faith, which made me that unshakable woman that I am today. And it's highly obtainable for any woman to be an unshakable woman. Me being an unshakable woman, it's not about, oh, I'm this and I'm that, and and I believe all that about myself, but it's not about that. It's about me knowing that my strength, who my strength comes from, who my help comes from, that we're all the same, that we're, no matter what our social class is, no matter what our bank accounts say, that we're all the same. When I walk into a room, or when a doctor, any highly esteemed person walks into the room, that he's human just like me, and I can show up just like that person can show up, because there's something special about me. So that, in a nutshell, is just what being an unshakable woman is about.
I like what you were saying. I mean, I'm gonna eat today, everyone, because I told everyone in advance. So I'm getting ready to just pull some of that meat off the bone. What Lataria had said about that values. Values are huge. They are important. And one thing that she mentioned that I see, that I see a lot of people doing is we place our values on those external things, what's being told to us, what's being said to us. And so that's what we look at to complete us, what we value. We don't look at the internal. We let that external dictate our internal, when really it should be vice versa, to where the internal should dictate the external. And like commanding, our steps or whatever, like wherever we go. I mean, can you imagine what you were saying in the seventh grade? Someone, I mean, you trying out for a team, and someone comes and says you're ugly, and that happens. Bullying and all of that stuff happens, but during that age, and that's when we're trying to find out our identity, who we are. And so to hear those words, you're ugly, from the external, and we don't have anything going on with the internal or feeding that, that sets us up for failure at that age. And so
It really does.
I was gonna put you on the spot with this question. So with the external, what are the barriers you think that prevents us from knowing it internally? Like,
And
go ahead.
go ahead, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, for example, just to clean it up a little bit. So we know, like, our peers or other people have said, you're this, you're that. But what barriers do you think that stops us from believing it on the inside?
I would say comparison, social media, the television, the movie screen. You see these women who have perfect shapes, perfect skin, perfect teeth. They seem like they have it all going for themselves, and we hold this person up who we think we should be like, and try to fit our lives to them. That's our mirror. Instead of looking ourselves in the mirror and seeing value and worth within ourselves, we have this invisible woman that we all should aspire to be like, that we try to build our life around, and we get this mental picture in our head of what we think we want. And so we try to make our life match that, when it's impossible to match that. We need to find that value and that worth within ourselves, instead of comparing and looking outward, because what's special about her might not be what's special about you. You have something totally different going on for yourself than she has, or she has.
That is so true, right? And then we look at that, and media does influence that. How you have to, like you said, look this way, look that way. I mean, it's influenced us, not to, go down the race path, but it's influenced us for years. Being
Yeah,
ashamed of our
especially with
hair.
the whole natural. It's like, I can remember a time when everybody was perm, 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 and then all of a sudden, natural hair blew up. Like, I can accept my natural hair. Like, this is really dope. So that is evident in itself.
Exactly. So, with the Unshakable Woman, because I know you said you grew up to be that unshakable woman, you know, share to your comfort level, of course. But what moments did you encounter throughout your life that probably shook you?
I would say, first of all, the rejection, and just going backward, starting as a child, I felt rejected by my father. That doesn't mean that he rejected me. It's just I felt rejection. And I think there was a breakdown in, he didn't know how to give me what he didn't have. So he didn't know how to love me and the type of love that I needed. And so I needed to be affirmed. I needed to be told I was beautiful, and all of those things that a little girl wants to hear. And so when I didn't receive that, as I grew older, I began to look outwardly. And so I began to seek that affirmation in relationships. And that only lasts for so long. They'll compliment you here and there until they get you. And then the emotional abuse begins. And I've never suffered physical abuse, but there was a lot of emotional and financial abuse that, and I depended on those relationships. Those relationships were where I found my value. I felt like, okay, well, if he wants me, then I must be beautiful. I must be worthy of love. I needed that relationship to define me. If this man wants me, I'm somebody. I'm beautiful. I'm worthy of being loved. And when all along I was always worthy of being loved, of having love, but the correct kind of love.
Exactly. So, what is your definition to help us understand of an unshakable woman? If you had to describe it to this group.
I would say my definition of an unshakable woman is a woman who is confident in her own skin, who has a sense of self-worth and value, who knows who she is internally, and is at peace with who she is.
Yes. Yes. That confident.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. That is yes, 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 yes. Let me say, I see there's a heart going up about that because that means everything.
I feel like I was, for many years, I was at war with myself. I went through a lot of things, but just going backwards, if I could just turn that switch on in my own mind, I wouldn't have had to go through half the things I went through. It's always up here. It's always starts with your mind and what you believe about yourself. And once that light switch turned on in my mind and what I believed about myself, then everything began to change.
Yeah. And it definitely does. And then once you have that change, it's like having that aha moment, like, oh,
like this was me all the time. Like,
yes.
I wasn't there like years ago. I could not see myself sitting in front of women, speaking to women, sharing my story, being confident without even stuttering. Because sometimes when you're really insecure, I noticed that about myself. Like sometimes I would stutter a little bit because I was so fearful and so insecure. So I couldn't imagine, doing what I'm doing now. But in coming in finding peace in myself, becoming that unshakable woman and being confident and bold, that's what turned that on for me.
Exactly. And then with that unshakable woman, I just want to just encourage people. This isn't something that just happened overnight. So you
Lord,
can be in your 20s, 30s, 60s. I skipped over 50s. You can be at any age and figure this out. Because I mean, there's so many other barriers that are out there, for example, like traumas or things that may sidetrack us or take us off our journey. So it may take us a little bit to find out how to be that unshakable woman. So just keep going for it.
Yes, that's the major key, is to keep going, because for me it was relationships. So I use relationships, as I stated before, to have a sense of worth. So once I finally decided, you know what, I'm done, I'm not happy. I had to come to a place where I realized that I was not happy. And so I ended the relationship that I was in. That left me broken and alone. And that's when I had to depend on my faith in Jesus Christ to help me in that moment. And so through that, I began to discover who I was, because whatever you're using to cope with whatever you're going through, once you stop, it's like, okay, well, who am I now? So I found myself in a space where I didn't even know who I was. I didn't know what I liked. Like, what do I like to do? I spent so many years doing what he liked and going where he wanted to go. Well, what is Lataria like? What do I like to do? So I had to rediscover just who I was, rediscover my likes, my dislikes, and learn how to stand up for myself, learn how to be assertive, learn how to say no, learn how to, for so many years, I was okay with being uncomfortable for the sake of someone else's comfort. So I would just treat me however, just as long as you stay and as long as you happy, I don't care. So when it came to this point where I was by myself, I realized, okay, so I don't like that. So I'm good. So I don't need that in my life. So I'm good. And my cutoff game became strong. And, that's when the growth and healing began to take place.
Exactly. When you start, and we say on the show all the time, I think every week, no matter what's going on, whatever we talking about, we could be talking about bacon biscuits, but we always say no is a complete sentence.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
it's perfectly okay to say no.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I even challenge anyone that's listening today, get find out what your values are. And I know Lataria was talking about like identity. Identity is so important, everyone. And I don't want to make it seem like you just lose your identity because of something bad. I mean, we're women, moms, wives, or whatever that looks like. You have some type of title, and because of that, you put yourself, your needs, and everything else on the back burner. And so by the time the kids are grown, or you get to a place that you can start to work on you, divorce, whatever that looks like, then you're there sitting in that moment wondering, who am I?
Mm-hmm.
Get you a values list. You can Google values. Go
Mm-hmm.
through that list. And some may say, oh my gosh, I don't know if I should do that, or why don't I know what I like? No, get you a list. It's been 20 something plus years. You probably knew what you liked, who you were, whatever. Go through that list and rediscover what your values are.
Because I found, and I'm glad you said that, because I found in going through life, it's easy to be stuck in survivor mode and not
Mhm.
live intentionally. And so for years I realized that I was just surviving the best way I knew how. And once I began that journey and began to grow and begin to heal, then that is when I can begin to live intentionally. But I want women to be aware of, take into account, just look at your life. Are you in survivor mode, in a perpetual state of survivor mode, or are you living intentionally? Are you doing the things that you want to do to get you an expected outcome in the future?
Exactly. Are you living intentionally? And sometimes it takes us getting assistance from other to figure out,
Mm-hmm.
are we living intentionally, or are we living in survival mode? Because we don't have that label. We don't know which line we're standing
Mm-hmm.
in. And
Mm-hmm.
because you've been doing something one way for so long, you could still be doing it in survival mode.
Mm-hmm. Yes, definitely. Get you my circle. I can tell you another step is my circle had to change. I had to change what I was listening to. I had to change what I was watching. I had to change just the things that I allowed in my ear gates and my eye gates, because that affects us and we don't realize how big of a role, music plays or the things we watch, but that infects us. It gets down into our spirit. And I had to watch and monitor those things because I was building myself back up. And so I needed to make sure that I was being fed things that would build me up, that would affirm who I am. Who am I now? What's going to affirm me now? Does that affirm me now? No, that doesn't agree with who I am now. So let me switch and let me pivot and listen and do things totally different. Getting myself a mentor was totally a game changer. Seeking out counseling was a game changer. We grew up in homes where, Black people didn't believe in seeking out counseling, things of that nature. And rightfully so, because, let's be real, they used to experiment on us. So we didn't trust those things. But oftentimes a counselor is able to pull things out of you that you didn't even know was there, and give you that foundation so you can build upon that.
Yeah, give you that space to where that
Mm-hmm.
safe space.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, families and friends could do that, of course. But
Mm-hmm.
what if they unfortunately are part of the problem,
Mm-hmm.
intentionally or unintentionally?
Yeah.
You may not feel safe to have that discussion. So going into that neutral setting will probably get you to that place.
Mm-hmm. Definitely, most definitely.
And it can be hard becoming that unshakable woman. And I want to ask Lataria a question about that too, because it's a type of comfort. being in that place, especially if it's survival mode, because you know how that feels. It's not the best feel, but it's like I already know how that feel. But once
Mm-hmm.
I arise above and I become that unshakable woman, now what is life gonna look like? How am I gonna navigate life? So, Lataria, with you on your journey, how was it that was it hard for you to become that unshakable woman? Was there a place on this journey where you wanted to say, "Nah, this is too heavy. Let me go back"?
I would say I still go through moments of that. There's still that fear. I mean, it's easy to want to stay in a place of comfort because there's safety there. You're familiar with it. You don't, everything looks the same. Everything is the same. It doesn't go beyond your control. And I find that comfort is oftentimes about what you can control. So in becoming that unshakable woman, it's a new space. It's a total, it involves me continuing to allow myself to evolve and not just say, oh, I've reached this level, I'm gonna stay here, this is where I'm comfortable. No, it involves me continuing to evolve to the next level and the next level, and there's always something different. You know, there's always this new where there's this new fear, like, oh, this is new. I've never been in this space, you know, because as you grow, you're going to enter into spaces where you have not been, into levels where you have not been. It doesn't look the same, but I knew that I couldn't go back to where I was. And so that's what kept me pushing forward to the future.
Yes. So, everyone that comes on Under the Scope, I like to ask this question. What is your definition of mental health?
I would say just mental health is, my definition would be just caring for yourself emotionally, being at peace with yourself, making sure your surroundings, that you feel safe, that you feel like you're able to emotionally thrive, that you don't feel just hurt and always in a constant state of pain and emotional torment. Just being at peace, anything that's going to bring you peace.
Mm-hmm. Yes, exactly. That piece is so important. And
Main thing.
again, it's no one size fits all. That's one thing that we're learning from Lataria today. Your piece may not look like my piece, but guess what? We're going to be all at peace.
Mm-hmm.
It may look a little different, but we
Yeah.
still striving for the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And what role do you see mental health play in being that unshakable woman?
It plays a major part. Um, it plays a major part. If you are not mentally healthy, it's almost impossible to be an unshakable woman. Um, it just involves you not living based on your emotions, because on my journey, I realized that your feelings are going to change. You know, I can be happy right now, an hour from now, I may be mad about something. So it's not staying in that space of living out of your emotions, and your mental health is so important in regards to you becoming that unshakable woman. You have to just know that life goes on, that there will be ups and downs, but I'm not gonna live in how I feel.
Right. And so with the unshakable woman, I really like that term because I think when we hear strong woman, it's nothing wrong with being a strong woman because, we are, but I think with strong woman comes that stigma that no matter what's going on, I just got to, persevere, not show my weakness and all of
Mm,
that. But like you said, at Unshakable Woman, it may require us to cry and have our cry
mhm,
or
mhm,
experience more emotions than
mhm.
just strong, right?
Yeah,
We
most
have a
definitely.
meter. We have a
Mhm,
meter we can choose from, everyone, from happy,
mhm,
sad, stressed, or whatever. But that
mhm,
unshakable woman, it signifies to me a foundation.
mhm,
Yes.
mhm. Knowing that you will go through trials, knowing that you will have ups and downs, knowing that you're not going to always be this I can conquer all, I can do all. Look at me, I'm pursuing a degree. My kids are making straight A's. I'm doing this and I'm doing that. No, that's not what it is. It's about you going through life at peace with yourself, being strong, being bold, being confident, and fully walking in who you are.
Yes, fully walking. Yes, I like that as well. So, can you tell us, and you don't have to tell us everything about your books, but can you tell us a little bit about your books?
Yeah, so Sparkle, that's my first book, and it I was very vulnerable and open in that book, and I just talked about my struggle with rejection, and basically a few things I highlighted, my struggle with just trying to find a sense of worth in relationships, and it talks about what I found my worth in, and how I just out of a bad situation, how I discovered who I was and discovered purpose, and through my faith. Um, and Promise, the devotional, there's so many different things. I highly recommend Promise. There's, if you've been divorced, whether you're going through a single season, whether you've experienced financial ups and downs, just whatever you can think of, there's a devotional for each period and point in your life, which we all will probably see, for you to just go through, read, document, journal, just whatever you're going through, that will be the perfect book for any woman. And my section within that book, I just talk about your body being a temple, and just taking care of your body, honoring your body, knowing that it's sacred, knowing that you're special, that I don't want to feel like I'm trying to get kind of getting off into it, but just knowing that you're special and that your body is sacred and that it's a temple and you should treat it as such.
All right. So, where can we find you at? Tell us about where we can find you at, and any information, any programs you have, or anything.
Okay, you can find me on Instagram at latariapeterson.com. So you can see the spelling my name, but I'll spell it anyway. It's LATARIADPETERSON, and that's for Facebook and Instagram. The books are available on my website, www.latariapeterson.com. I also have Unshakable Woman t-shirts and sweatshirts. And I'll be doing a mentorship program this year on becoming an unshakable woman. So it's the Unshakable Woman mentorship program. We're going to deal with identity. We're going to deal with just rediscovering who you are, your boldness, your confidence, and really just building you up, and knowing that you're this amazing woman. This amazing woman is inside of you and you don't even know it. So I can't wait to work with women who will be joining the program.
Nice. All right. So, before you go under the scope, do you have anything else you want to add about being an unshakable woman before I open the floor?
Let's see. I think we touched everything, but I just wanted to say that all of you are unshakable women already. We go through so many things, traumas that we don't even realize are traumas until we grow and begin to learn about different things. Like, oh, I went through that. I went through a whole trauma. We all are unshakable women. We all are. You just have to tap into it and find it.
All right. All right. So, I guess it's that time. Uh-oh. 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 No. No, I
Yeah,
guess
let's go.
we going under the scope now. So I do have some questions in chats. If anybody have any comments or anything, please raise your hand so I can go ahead and call on you. So one of the first questions that is in the chat, it says, you said that an unshakable woman is confident. What practical ways can women build their confidence to become unshakable?
Practical ways. I would say, first and foremost, I use my faith. I don't know if we have who all is a believer or not that we have on the line, but I'm telling from my experience, I use the Bible. There's a lot of scriptures that affirm me within the Bible. I would say affirmations, written affirmations, to where you write these things down, you put them on your mirror, put them in your car, write them on the note card. You have to build that up internally. It doesn't come from other people. These are things that you have to begin to believe for yourself. So you have to begin to speak those things into your life and begin to let your brain hear those things about yourself and believe them to build that confidence up.
We started this year on Under the Scope when we had some guests talking about the affirmations and manifestation and how powerful that is. And I'm like, that is becoming like huge, especially after 2020, now going into 2021, because there's still stuff that's happened, i.e. what happened in Texas. And so, and they talked about, everyone's been talking about how mental health is on the rise. They said it's even larger problem, and the average used to be 1 out of every 5 suffer from a mental illness. Now they're saying it's 2 out of 5. So
it's
we
probably
definitely
4 out of 5.
exactly,
I mean,
because
you
that's
just
just the
never know.
reported. Yes,
Yeah.
that's just the reported. So definitely those affirmations, and yeah, nothing against the apps that they have on the phone. But I mean, even putting them around, at least you'll be able to see them and put them where you can see them so you can say them every day. It does make a difference. So
And writing is definitely, with this digital age, with the apps and just reading on the app. No, you need to write those things. You remember back in the day when we would have to write, we would get in trouble. I'm telling my business, but I used to talk a lot. And so I would have to write sentences, and just even in writing those things down over and over, just every morning, not even over and over all day, but every morning, getting up and just having those things before you is a major key.
yes, it is. All right, awesome. So the next question, I know, Choice, you have unhealthy relationship. Are you at a place where you can ask the question or give the comment? I want to see if there. She's not driving.
She's
everyone.
home.
She made it.
Yay.
We can't hear you.
There you go. So during that time, did you experience a bunch of unhealthy relationships prior? I mean, I heard you talk about it after I had asked the question, so you did actually answer it for me. And that's when that Unshakable Woman came through, is after all those unhealthy relationships. So you answered the question, so I don't need to ask it now because it happened while I was on the road. But I want to let you know, thank you. It has been a it's awesome for sharing your story, you're giving your testimony, because that help any woman that's going through something, regardless of what it may be. So thank you.
You're welcome.
And I do like that she put the unhealthy relationships, and yeah, you did answer it. But what advice would you have if someone was in front of you that probably has gone through unhealthy relationships and they want to become that unshakable woman?
The advice, I want to be honest. It's going to hurt. It's going to hurt. I found that in breaking my own heart that I was in a lot of pain, because for so long I just felt like I needed this other person. So I didn't know how to be alone. And there were some hard nights. And so I don't want to paint this picture where it'll all be over and it's going to be quick and fast. No, it's going to hurt. I think you need to allow yourself to hurt without trying to fill that void. So without trying to find another relationship or picking up another bad habit or whatever, just allow yourself to feel the pain. And then while you're doing that, assess where you are, accept where you are, but don't find yourself under guilt and condemnation where you're putting yourself down and I'm this and I'm that and so full of shame, because with every morning there's a new day. And so there's a chance for you to start over. There's a chance for you to be exactly who it is that you were created to be. You don't have to wallow in your past. And your past will try to attack you and haunt you and follow you, but you got to cut that thing off. And I went through that. That was me. Then I went through that, but this is who I am now. And so in letting go of that relationship, you can do it. You don't need that person, especially if they're making you feel bad, if they're abusing you financially, mentally, physically. You don't need that. That's not even love. It's an unhealthy attachment, and you're better than that. You're worth more than that. So get away from it and go through those ups and downs of that time where you're separating yourself from it. Go through it and know that in the end, that's how you come out stronger. That's how you come out as that unshakable woman.
That's beautiful.
Thank you.
Anyone have any questions, comments, kudos? Anyone? I went through the chats already.
That is so hard for when I've done Zoom to try to talk and then you trying to look through the chat and answer stuff.
Questions, anyone? Well, quiet group.
Well, she answered that. I mean, everything that she said is just, speaking truth. We may all experience it a little bit differently, but it was so informative, because I know, hey, I'm that unshakable woman. That I do.
Yes, you are. You better know it.
I'm going to speak that truth and just tell it straight like it is. So no, it was just very informative. So I think that's why, because a lot of us is just listening.
Yeah.
It's definitely some meat for sure.
I think it's just so I'm getting chills because I was just so insecure for the longest time and so broken and so hurt, and just realizing that you don't have to live in that perpetual state of just brokenness, that the world wants you to think that there's this person that you should be and not value us as individuals, not value that there's something special about each and every one of us. And my goal is for each and every woman to know that there's something special about you. I think that's what I looked for the longest time was, God, what's special about me? Like, I don't feel special. I don't feel it. I'm looking at you and, oh, she's special. Oh, she can, and that's something that just follows you. It follows you from a childhood on up into an adulthood if you don't address it and find your worth and your value. So I just want each and every woman to know that you're special, that you can be bold, that yes, she's rocking it and she's killing it, but you can too. There's something special about you, and you're beautiful and fearfully and wonderfully made as well.
Yes. All right. In the chat, I know Laquita's like, thank you for sharing so many great nuggets.
You're welcome.
And Demetria is like, your growth inspired me to keep moving forward. It has been an honor to see the unshakable woman come out of you. You have become a great role model.
Oh, thank you, Demetria. Y'all didn't see that face, did y'all? Don't record that face. No, I'm playing.
So pre-pandemic or even during the pandemic, have you done like any community work with Unshakable Woman or getting the word out to empower women?
Basically I've just been posting things. Not really so much with Unshakable Woman. I've been trying to see what avenue I can go down. This year, I'm really going to be pushing that forward, especially with everything that we're going through. I would say pre-pandemic, I would speak and, be on different platforms, but post-pandemic has just been kind of strange, just been kind of trying to find my grounding and being a mother and having a full-time job and trying to build a business. But I'm going forward because as I realized, life is going to keep happening. We had the pandemic, and we've had this winter storm. There's been death all around. I had a great grandfather that passed last year. So it seems like things are progressing and nothing's going to slow down. So my excuse is not going to be, these are horrible times. No, I'm going to keep pushing forward. So I'll be doing a lot more things, trying to find out how I can push that forward in the community beginning this year.
Nice. That'll be nice to see, especially if it's not right there in your immediate community, like even through Zoom, or we have so many avenues now that was actually birthed during the pandemic.
Yes, definitely.
And I think it's, it's time. I think it's our year. I think it's time for, Black women, but Black women,
Yeah.
for us to find our values and
Mhm.
discover who we are, get that
Yes.
identity together, build
Mhm.
that confidence, and be that unshakable woman. It's
Mhm.
ground we got to cover.
Yes. So much ground. So much ground.
All right. I see a hand raised. Let me see. I was trying to see who. Oh, Joy. Sorry, I didn't see it.
Lataria, you have daughters or a son?
I have two daughters and one son. So my oldest is 14, my middle is a boy, he's 12, and my baby girl is 6.
So how do you teach them to be unshakable girls? Because I know they're not. So that's my.
I'm big on comparison. I'm really big on comparison because um I feel like when we get trapped in that, we don't have a sense of self. We don't think we're good enough in ourselves. So I'm big on comparison, and I'm big on them congratulating other women and not feeling less than because somebody else is on a pedestal. So I just let them know, hey, if they're looking at something, or I want this, or I want that, or she has this or that, I'll let them know, hey, you're still of value. You still have value. You can congratulate that person when they're winning here or they're winning there. It's important for our girls, especially our Black girls, because I feel like that competition, like, I don't know where that comes from, but it seems like it's so deep within us. We're competing for this or competing for a male's attention. So I try to cut that from at the root and let them know, you can congratulate another person, that you don't have to be jealous and feel jaded, which is a natural human emotion, but I want them to navigate that correctly so where they're not feeling insecure.
Because you have a superstar.
Oh yeah, my baby girl. Yeah. And she's had to deal with, you wouldn't believe, from, even parents, recognizing that she's really good in what she does. And so their daughters will start to push her to the side or start to segregate from her. She's been through that, feeling alone and feeling rejected. So her grandmother and we've had to talk her through it, still have to talk her through it. This is how people are going to be, but your response is not going to be to stoop to their level, because that's gonna negate who you are. You don't want to have that poison within you. So don't stoop to their level. Just rise above it and continue to be who you are. So yeah.
Yes. Yes, that is so true. I know when you were talking, I was even thinking about, when I was raising my girls, it's just how it changes, how it's brought down and how it changes. And I'm like, say, I wish I could have been in that position where I could tell them, hey, with the comparison thing, I know I did the best of what I could, but I didn't have that. And so that's where I was when I was raising them, not feeling good enough, comparing myself to this person, that person. It was bad.
Yeah, it was
It
such a pain for me that I'm like, I can't have them going through this. I can't have them, because it can be it's an emotional trap. It basically an emotional hell, because that's how the world lives. And so you find yourself living like that. It's a trap. So I definitely try to just whatever I can to try to pull them out of that. Don't get sucked into that.
Yep. All right. Anyone else have any questions or comments? I think you fed. I think everybody's full. But so let's carry. Before we end the show, just one more time, where we can find you, website, products, resources, whatever you have, please let us know.
So you can follow me on Instagram and Facebook at Lataria D. Peterson. Both. I'm not on Twitter. I can't get with the Twitter. I don't know. I'm not up to date. So I'm on there, but you're not gonna see me doing anything with it. So you can follow me if you want to. Again, I have the Unshakable Woman mentorship program coming out. It should be coming out either late spring or early summer. Be looking for that. There'll be information on my website, www.latariapeterson.com. And you can also subscribe to my email list. I have Unshakable Woman sweatshirts, and my 2 books are also available on my website. And just feel free to keep in touch, because I love chatting and talking on social media.
I will keep in touch. Hopefully everybody else too, but I will keep in touch. But thank you so much for coming to Under the Scope.
You're welcome. I thank you for having me.
Okay, yes. Because I mean, it's the phenomenal speakers that come on and they just feed me. I mean, sorry, feed everybody else that attend too. But your knowledge is just so powerful. And we need that just reinforcement throughout about being that unshakable woman. And really, your appearance on the show right now was right on time for me. And so
Yes.
I appreciate you. And whatever you do on your journey, just do it and do it well.
Yes, ma'am. Thank
And
you so much.
remain that unshakable woman.
Yes, yes, most definitely.
All right, everyone. So with Under the Scope, I'm still tossing back and forth. Keep checking your social medias because I may do a pop-up show. And if I do it, I'm gonna do it myself. I really want to talk about healthy relationships, or I may do self-care. I don't know. I'm gonna make up my mind soon. But I want to thank each and every one of you for coming on Saturdays, giving me that 60 plus 60-ish minutes on Saturdays, because without you, there'll be no me. And I love each and every one of you all. So thank you for coming to Under the Scope, where good tea and reads are welcome. Take care, everyone. Love you all.
Hey, y'all.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.